Congratulations, everyone, and thanks again for sharing the film with us tonight. Tim, we'll start with you. I love an origin story and a creative origin story. And I know there's a lot of interconnected webs here with this particular project and sort of past relationships that really came to kind of bring this film to fruition. Can you share with us how this film came to be and so your initial connection to the novel?
I think it was Gil and Max who actually asked them, and then they came to me, and then I saw something really interesting in it.
Well, let's go for there. For Max, I mean, congratulations on the success of your novel, Shy. I know you and Cillian have collaborated in the past, and really that was the root, I think. If you can share us with that story, please.
Yeah, so we wanted to do something else together. We'd done a few things together, and I had just got back of taking Shy around a little bit on a book tour, particularly in other countries in translation, and I'm very interested in how things change in translation. And what was becoming apparent was that people that do this job were standing up at my events and saying, I've never really seen myself represented in a story, or I've never seen this work looked at closely and seriously, and I thought, well, let's do that. So I put it to Cillian, who was keen on the idea, and then it was a question of just turning the whole cosmos of the book, around so the alignments changed, and telling Steve's story, which meant, of course, telling Shy's story, but also everyone else, and then changing up the way we see the ecosystem of a place like that. And we decided to do it in one day and make it the worst day anyone's ever had, which is not unusual. You speak to people that do this work, and every day is a really difficult day. And then the joy of it for me was writing it for Cillian.
And congratulations on the project. Phenomenal role for you, great film. So if you could pick up off of Max's comment there, I mean, obviously you were looking for a project together, and what was it about specifically this role here that attracted, or this particular story?
There was a few different things, I think, colliding at the same time. Myself and Alan had just made a film together, and we were looking for the next thing. We adored working with Tim. It was my second film with Tim, Small Things Like These, and then we were keen to kind of keep that team. And I worked so well with Max, we have a real connection. And then when we talked about the idea of taking the novel of Shy, but like kind of spinning it on its axis, I thought it was a brilliant idea, and I instantly knew that it should be Tim, because he's the most sensitive, gifted artist when it comes to directing actors, and I knew it needed somebody really, really sensitive. And it was a real challenge to kind of to think, how can we do this in a way that's not been done before? We've had this teacher-student story told many times, and how can we tell it in a new way? And so that was really the challenge that we gave to Max, and then it was up to me and Alan to kind of find a place for the film.
And so Tim, back to you then, in terms of this particular thing. This is your third collaboration now after Peaky Blinders and Small Things Like These. And again, the connection to this particular story. You spoke at the introduction, a very personal connection obviously there, but then there's an artistic route and with working with Cillian in the past. So if you can just share a little bit again about sort of your attraction to the particular script.
I think the script was very unconventional. We came from Small Things Like These, where dialogue was really the top of the iceberg, and Max wrote like a cathedral iceberg on top of the surface. And I was like, how are we going to deal with this? It was like a very challenging project, and I think it was really collaboration between all of us. I think we went into rehearsals for 2 weeks with the boys. We get to know the boys really well. We were talking one-on-one with the boys. Feel their pain, so the boys became the character became the boys. Max saw it all the time. He was rewriting the script as we speak. I was seeing images, he was rewriting these images. So it was like the most beautiful collaboration with a writer I can possibly imagine.
And Alan, in terms of, when did you realize that this was the next project that you and Cillian wanted to bring forward?
We had just finished shooting Small Things Like These, and we were kind of talking about what, we were kind of looking, mooching, and so when the book came in, we reacted pretty much immediately, Max and I had a really memorable meeting on a church step in Bath. We had shared a ham roll, and we kind of sorted it. The business was sorted out there and then. And Max wrote the script straight away. I think we had a draft within about 6 or 8 weeks. It was very quick. And they gave it to Tim. Tim probably took 6 or 8 weeks to get his head around it, and then he jumped in. We went to Mensa and Netflix, who we have a strong relationship with, and it just all happened kind of very quickly. So it, like, literally kind of within the period of about 12 months, we went from a standing start to shooting, which is pretty unusual in our game. So, yeah.
Tim, can you share some insight into how you found the remarkable young cast, and we'll get to you in a minute, Jay, but the remarkable cast that you had there. How did you find them?
Great castings, and I think we went around boxing clubs around London, and we cast about more than 3,000 boys, and the auditions, I always try to make these auditions really fun, and that people are enjoying themselves, and I remember one boy coming to me and saying, like, Tim, I went all the way down from Manchester to this audition, I thought it was really fun. I probably don't have the part, but I think this was one of the best days of my life. And he got the part.
And also what Tim does is, which is quite rare now, is if at all possible, like, he auditions in person, which you don't get that. You know, there's so many actors out there, like, you're sending me tapes and tapes and tapes and tapes, and it's really hard to make a connection. But, because in the old days, you could get in a room, you didn't get the job. You made a connection with the team, and Tim does that as much as possible. It's not always possible, but as much as possible. It makes a huge difference to get a way better, audition.
But his artistry, which is evident in the finished product in countless different ways, it was evident to me even in the beginning of the casting. So you get this tape, and he'd say, I like this kid for X. And he's a little bit cockier than he is in the script, and I quite like that because I think it would reveal a kind of vulnerable, like he's already doing almost therapeutic work on the characters before he's casting them, so that he can then put them through their paces in a way that I've never seen anything like it, the way what he gets from actors.
And I kind of, where the first script got a lot of dialogue, interesting dialogues, and I said, like, Max, can you, for the audition, it would be nice if we can do like longer interviews to get to know this character better, like, and he wrote like, in an hour up to 2-page
I
dialogue.
wrote hundreds of these fucking
Yeah, and I think all these, it looks like improvisation, but you wrote it all out. And then we did this, and I think these tapes were magnificent with the interviews. So we found time in the schedule to do these interviews with these boys, and they came into the film.
And for the real shy, for the actor there, how, we'll get you in a second, Jay. But Cillian, I mean, did you guys have Jay in mind? Was there someone else? How did you find him, or how did you decide on him?
I mean, it was pretty clear to all of us, like, instantly, because Jay taped and then came in and worked with Tim, and we all looked at that, and it was immediately, we both consensus that this kid is just magnetic, and he just, when we saw it, it was like, that's him. It was just the power of his. I'm sorry for embarrassing yourself. It was like, it's just some actors have it, and it's a kind of magnetic. But he also had this thing of showing but concealing, which I think is a really, really unique gift for any actor. And Jay just had it, and it was kind of just jaw dropping.
It's really wonderful. One of the great things about obviously getting older is you see these incredible young people, filmmakers, actors really coming to the rise.
So depressing.
But Jay Lycurgo, it's been such a joy watching your career unfold. The Bastard Son and The Devil Himself, Titans, which has been shot in Toronto from here. But a huge congratulations. It's a phenomenal performance.
Honestly, I couldn't have done it without these boys. Like what they were saying before, Tim and Max, they're so open and vulnerable from the beginning. And because of that, you know, you go into that space, you go into that scene and you feel like you can do anything, you know. They really feel like brothers, like, I don't feel embarrassed, like, I'm so proud of them as well, you know, so it makes me emotional just watching the film. Like, every time I'm sitting there, like, fuck. But yeah, I feel like in a character like Shy, there's a real fragility, a struggle. We're depressed, we're struggling, I feel like all of us have that, and that's in us. Like, we're all here, getting on with life, but all of us are just behind closed doors. That's what we're really trying to show, and I feel like this film is so vulnerable for that. And once again, because of the collaboration with all of us, I feel like we could really show that in the film, so.
Absolutely, and that came through. I mean, there's so much love in this film. I love what the great Emily Watson, who's unfortunately not here with us tonight, said, just made a point of pointing out that boys aren't born toxic, they're born beautiful. And how do you respond to that? It's such a beautiful statement.
I think it's a beautiful statement.
I guess I'd just say as well, I feel like with Steve and Shy though, what I love is that both of them are struggling but at different stages of their lives. You know, like all of us have said, like, we're all lost boys. Like, no matter what age. Like, it's a shame because I feel like with my dad as well, I'd always want him to like communicate better with me and be more open with me. But I feel like that generation weren't taught how to do that. And, you know, I'll say that. Yeah, you guys did, you know. No, but that actors and creative, so we're all sopping a bit more. So. But no, I had that. Yeah.
It was actually a very kind of interesting, because we were together for, you know, 8-10 weeks, but we shot for 6, and we shot the film in sequence. So as we were going through, we all obviously knew what was happening, and you know, you're watching these characters go through the journey that they're on, and it was sort of palpable. You know, you could. I've never had that experience on set or around set where you could kind of feel, you know, and see, you know, Cillian and Jay particularly going through what they were going through, and it was, as we were getting towards the end, it was getting kind of more and more intense, you know, because of just the sense of the jeopardy and you know, the story that we were living, which was, you know, so I mean, I think we were all basket cases by the end of it, to be honest. It took me months to recover.
That's always a process I'm really sort of interested in. Tim, is that something that you do for your productions, shooting in chronological order? Was that unique to this particular film?
I never thought it would be possible till Gil said, like, Gil loves to use it all the time. Let's do it. And I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me in terms of working with actors and going through a schedule. It's amazing.
Just in terms of that emotional arc that you sort of travel along with?
Absolutely. Where were we? It's always a question on set. Where were we? Like, where am I coming from? And they said, like, we did it yesterday, so you should know. It's very easy as that.
And Cillian, for you, if you can speak to that as well, please, just in terms of sort of really crafting that performance in sort of this chronological way.
Well, I only ever had it once before, and that was when I made this film with Ken Loach, and he just insists and he shoots everything, and all producers go, oh my fucking God, but he goes, no, we're just doing it, and he does it. But we were lucky that we was just in one location, more or less, so we managed to kind of work it all out schedule-wise so that we could. And it's the biggest gift you can give to not just the actors, but to the crew, because everybody knows where they're headed, and everyone's feeling it in a real, authentic way, rather than kind of having to manufacture. And that's what we do. That's our job. So we have to go figure it out backwards, retrospectively, and work it all out. But like in this, it was so clear for us all. And I mean, in an ideal world, you'd always shoot a film like that. But I recognise that it's just entirely practical, you know, mostly.
And I think that's really so evident on the screen. Alan, so what can you tell us about when the film is released? I understand it's coming soon.
Cinemas, Oh, the song that you heard at the end, that's Little Sims, who plays Shola in the film. And so that gets released next week. And there's a very current music video that Tim directed to come with that. And then the following week, on the 19th, I believe, the film gets released theatrically, just for a 2-week period. But Netflix have been great, and have, getting behind the film. And actually, it's worth pointing out, I think sort of hats off to Netflix for having the balls to do something like this. It's not an obvious platform type movie, and I think they really should be commended for that, and sort of sticking with us and supporting us. And so then on the 3rd of October, is that right? It's on Netflix on the platform.
We'll have to wrap up soon, but Tim and Cillian, there's a lot of love, as you mentioned in this film, there's a lot of toughness here. What do you hope that the audience takes away with them tonight when they leave the theater?
I don't want to say that really. It's not up to me. It's your story now. Deal with it.
It's a wonderful place to be. Thank you very much.